What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today.
Howdy how. Welcome. How's everyone doing today? I'm doing okay myself. It's a little gray and rainy today, but that's all right. Still having a pretty good day. You won't be able to notice it from this particular view, but made a couple of changes to things. One of the cameras is I changed positions. I also switched up the lighting a little bit, hopefully for better effect. And yeah, I've been working on getting my normal computer set up, so then that way I can do things like YouTube reacts and just basic stuff at the computer, like when eventually we get to the point where we can start doing the culinary tech support streams and things like that. So just kind of, been working on stuff, and yeah, so far so good. But today is all about St. Patrick's Day, at least here in the States. Probably, I would imagine, Canada and, well, all over the world. But I will not fall prey to the standard tropes, I guess. You see these videos, these super cringy videos of morning news and talk shows and things like that every year when St. Patrick's Day rolls around, they do some pretty cringy things, and so I'm not going to go that route. I do have my green here, but that's about it. Yeah, that's really kind of all I got going on. But in preparing for today and thinking about what I wanted to make, initially the thing that came to mind was something like a steak and Guinness pie, or like a good Irish stew or something like that. And I was talking to Mrs. Wayso about it, and she said that what she wanted was bangers and mash. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make some bangers and mash today. And I've never actually made it before, so I wasn't 100% certain what went into it. But thankfully, I mean, there's a whole bunch of videos and things like that online for reference. And what I found that was kind of interesting is that bangers only refers to the sausages within this particular dish. That's the only time that the term is actually used. Otherwise, they're just straight up sausages. And I know for me, at least, the question was like, okay, well, what kind of sausages are we using for this? And everything that I found was just, just a good quality sausage. Usually a pork sausage in a natural casing that, is fairly common to the British Isles. And so I was like, okay, well, let's, try and find some sausages that are like that. And unfortunately, the places that I went to that I thought would have something to that effect did not. And I was a little disappointed, but at the same time, in looking at, again, some of these videos, the big thing that came across is that they should be good quality sausages for this. The thought process being is because it is a relatively simple dish that they, if you use, not the greatest of quality of sausages, the overall quality of the dish isn't going to be all that great. So get some good ones and then use that as the base for everything else. And so what we'll do is we're first going to brown up the sausages that I did get. There's some really nice ones that I got from my local butcher. And we'll brown those up relatively slowly while we prep everything for the onion gravy that's going to be made in the same pan. Because ideally you want to use kind of the drippings from the sausages as well as whatever fat that you use in there. I plan on using a bit of butter to kind of help brown the sausages, but do them slowly, so then that way they stay really nice and moist and juicy and don't dry out. So we'll do that, and then we'll get everything going for the onion gravy, which is really simple, to be honest. Once the sausages are browned, we're gonna just caramelize the onions in the pan and let that go for a little bit before adding a bit of flour to kind of form that roux, and then adding in some beef stock, some seasonings, and kind of let that reduce a little bit, and then that will form the basis for the gravy. The mash for this is going to be a little bit different than normal. However you want to make your mashed potatoes to go along with it, please go right ahead. If you want to add, cheese, if you want to add chives, if you want to add whatever, go for it. It seems like the consensus, I guess, I don't know. I think it's one of those things that everybody has their own recipe and kind of their own preferences, but it seems like for this especially, the ideal mash that goes along with bangers and mash, because of the onion gravy, is that the mash isn't going to have a whole lot of fat or anything else added to it. So then that way the potatoes will soak up a fair amount of that gravy. So the mash that we're going to make, we're going to have a little bit of butter in it, and other than the salted water and some pepper, that's it. It's going to be super simple, and then that way it will allow those potatoes to really kind of soak up some of that gravy and just be excellent. Then we're going to make some peas, which is I think every single video and web page that I've visited looking at how people are making bangers and mash, every single one of them without fail has served it with peas, and I'm okay with that. Actually got peas this time. That was kind of a funny thing, not having peas when I thought I had peas. What was that, Tuesday? But I got peas, so we're good to go, and we'll do that. And then as just kind of a final follow-up, some additional vegetation. My plan is to make a slaw. Whether or not we actually do that, who knows? I'm in the mood for it personally. It's going to be a cabbage-based slaw. We're going to put some carrots in there. I've got some pickled onions that we'll throw in, and I roasted up a couple of beets, and so I thought maybe some grated beet in there would be really good too. And as for the dressing, I'm gonna make it's a blue cheese dressing that it's incredibly simple, and I'll show you all about that sort of thing once we actually get there. So let me grab the pan that I need for this, as well as the sausages, and we'll get those going real quick. So, okay. That came out a lot less gracefully than I hoped it would. But, okay. So I'm actually going to be doing this. Well, you can barely see it in that shot. Oh wow, I don't know if that's showing up on the video. I'm going to do this in my saucier here. The reason being is that for the gravy itself, I thought it would be kind of the best pan to make it in and form it in. So I picked up a couple of different sausages, and I figured those would be kind of nice for this. One of them is like an onion and cheddar sausage, and the other one, it's kind of a German sausage. But unfortunately, like I said, the butcher that I went to, that I expected it to have the type of sausages that I was looking for, because they're really good about making all sorts of different ones, did not, which was kind of surprising. So I am making do with what I got. So I am just gonna put a little bit of butter in here, probably about a tablespoon or so, to use as just kind of the fat in this. And since I'm going to be making the gravy in this anyways, that is just going to help add to the fat needed for the roux, which consequently, there was a question that came up, I think it was Tuesday, about doing some things gluten-free, like a moussaka, for instance, which has a bechamel sauce over the top. And let's do, there we go. And initially I wasn't really sure what to recommend for kind of a thickening agent for that bechamel, since traditionally when you're making a roux, you're using all-purpose flour, generally speaking, which is wheat-based, and if you have a gluten allergy, then using all-purpose flour is a no-go. So after doing a little bit of research and just trying to kind of understand what would work really nicely for that, what I found was there's a few things that one can use to act as the thickening agent in lieu of that all-purpose flour. One of which is cassava flour, which cassava is a root that is very often used, like down in Brazil, for instance. It's kind of the basis for the farofa, which is super common. But it appears that cassava flour can be used in a 1-to-1 replacement over all-purpose flour for the purposes of making a roux. So I'm thinking Saturday we'll do a little bit of gluten-free stuff, and we'll get a hold of some cassava flour and we'll make that happen. Howdy how. So now that this is going and we got it kind of on a low flame, since this is going to take a little bit of time, I'm going to bust out the onion and get that chopped up for the gravy. Also, the interesting thing that I saw with most of the recipes and any videos that I saw making just kind of a basic onion gravy, every one of them said that they wanted long slices of onion. They didn't want tiny pieces. They actually wanted kind of big pieces for it. So okay, turn that down a little bit so it's not popping quite as much. So I'm just gonna do some thin slices straight across for the whole thing, and then this onion will be the entirety of it is what we'll use for the gravy. Alternatively, if you have a mandolin, you can certainly use it on this. Oh, I hear Jane. There we go. Hi, Jane. How you doing, buddy? Hey, little girl. Sit. Good girl. All right. So we're going to add these back to the gravy at the very end, so then that way they have a chance to kind of reheat versus having been out of the pan for as long as they're gonna be, since the caramelizing of onions is gonna take a fair amount of time. Okay. Get rid of that root bit. Excellent. All right, that's our onion all done up. Those are browning up pretty nicely. Okay. Onions done. So for this amount of onions, the amount of I guess stock, but I'm gonna be using bouillon powder in water for it, just because I don't have any stock handy. But thankfully, the stuff that I'm using is pretty universally accepted. The Knorr beef, which will work really nicely with this. For that, I'm gonna use probably about 500 mils of water. And then, so 500 mils is gonna be a little over a pint. So that being the case, I think this, if I remember correctly, this is about a teaspoon per cup, and I'll probably keep it at just that strength as opposed to going any stronger, only because it's going to be reduced a bit, and I don't want the saltiness of this to completely overpower the gravy. So I'm also not going to be really heavily. Hey AJ, welcome. I'm not going to be super heavily salting the potatoes either, just because of the anticipation of that gravy. All right. So far, so good. Okay. Yeah, and that's on kind of a medium-low heat. So, alright, so I'm going to measure out my water. I'm going to get this mixed up. I'm going to get out kind of the rest of everything else that I need for the gravy portion of it. And then we'll move on to kind of everything else. So I need... let's see, 500 mil, yeah, it's just over a pint. And then however much kind of thick, like roux you use in this is going to depend entirely upon how thick of a gravy you want. I don't want a super gloopy thick gravy. That's just not anything I enjoy. And so because of that, I'm going to kind of make it to a thinner consistency. All right, so these are looking good. I'll pull those out. So now I'm going to add a few more tablespoons of butter. Get that going. and get those caramelizing. Because that's half the battle when making a good onion gravy, is just getting those onions nicely caramelized. Because if you do that, the gravy is just that much better. Okay. How are things with you today, AJ? I want to scrape up this fond as much as I can and get it into the onion so it doesn't burn. Just at work having a lunch, yeah. Back in there. Okay. So this is going to take a fair amount of time. Thankfully, it'll give us time to take care of everything else. Caramelizing onions is not a fast process. Now I have seen, and I've done it once, where people will add baking soda to onions in order to get them to caramelize quicker. The only issue that I had when I did it is that the onions, instead of retaining their shape at all, it turned into an onion mush, which for some applications that's just fine, but for this, since I want the kind of the onion shape and everything, the last thing I want to do is have it turn to mush. Hey, Night Song. Yeah, recipes always say that caramelizing onions takes like 10 minutes. I'm like, I don't know what planet they're on, but I've never caramelized onions in 10 minutes. It's always taken way longer. Okay, so that Nor bouillon powder in this is going to be about 2 teaspoons. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Alright, so that is mixed, and that'll be good for that. Need to get all-purpose flour that we're going to end up using, and a little bit of dried thyme, and Worcestershire sauce, and pepper. Alright, so that should form the basis of everything that we need for this gravy, because this gravy is dead simple. And I mean, there's a good reason why it is serious comfort food. It's because it is super easy and it's super tasty. But like I said, I've never personally made this before, so it's kind of a new experience, but new experiences are fun like that. There are a couple of local places here that do a really good bangers and mash. One of them is a restaurant attached to a local brewery. Yeah, I can see how being attached to a local brewery, it makes a ton of sense, since it's also very, very common pub food to order, so it makes sense. Read America's Test Kitchen last week, added a teaspoon of brown sugar to speed up the caramelizing. So the adding of the sugar, it's not that it speeds it up, it's just that it's adding more sugars to caramelize. And so what's happening is you're caramelizing the sugar before you're actually caramelizing the sugar in the onions, if that makes sense. I mean, adding sugar or even a little bit of salt into this makes sense from the standpoint that they both will help draw the moisture out of the onions. So then that way they're not boiling. And once the moisture is gone, that's really when the caramelization can start. The restaurants and ale house, great pub food there. Yeah, it makes total sense. It makes total sense that that's the case. So, okay. This is going to be going for a little bit. We've got a little bit of time at this point. Not to mention the dried time that I just pulled out, so bad jokes. But I'm just going to let this slowly do its thing and stir it up as needed. And in the meantime, I'm thinking we'll start putting together that slaw. It'll just make for a nice side since everything else comes together really easy. Let's see. So for that, I need... Oh, it would help if I got the potatoes kind of going for the mash. That would be helpful. All right. So for those that may not have heard me earlier, the mash for this, if you want to add, you know, cheese and heavy cream and kind of all that stuff, go right ahead. But in doing my research for this, it seems like the consensus is, well, A, do it however you want. But the kind of the pro tip that I saw was to make the mash with as little fat as possible. So then that way, once you douse the whole thing in gravy, that the potatoes will actually suck up the gravy better, as opposed to if they're full of like butter and heavy cream and stuff like that, the gravy will sit on it as opposed to actually getting sucked up into the top. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Night Songs, I think it was Tuesday when we were at the very end, we were just kind of talking about things to make. You were talking about, I think you were also talking about gluten-free possible options. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Yes, okay. So, yes, because you asked me about the moussaka. Okay, for the moussaka, instead of using all-purpose flour to make that bechamel sauce, use cassava flour in a 1-to-1. Cassava flour you should be able to find at most better supermarkets, health food places, anywhere that caters or carries products for celiacs and people who live a gluten-free lifestyle. Cassava flour can be used in a 1-to-1 ratio with all-purpose flour for making a roux, which is exactly what a bechamel needs, is that roux in order to make it. So there you go. And I found a bag of it and I picked it up when I saw it because I'm gonna try using it, I'm thinking on Saturday. So not without doxing yourself, roughly where in the world are you, Night Songs? Are you here in the US or are you elsewhere in the world? Massachusetts, okay. I don't know if you get, there's a mill called Bob's Red Mill that makes a lot of high quality like flours and things like that. They also make a product called, what is it, Baker's 1-to-1 or something like that, which is a gluten-free alternative to all-purpose flour that also works fantastically well. Okay, yeah, so it's called 1-to-1. They make cassava flour as well as that 1-to-1. Either one of those will work in a 1-to-1 for making that bechamel. So you do that, you should be golden. Yes, A lot of Brazilians in Massachusetts. Well, Brazilians, but mostly Portuguese, if I remember correctly. So it's very different. All right, onions are coming along nicely. We should really get that mash going. Okay. So for these, I'm gonna peel them, just so it makes a slightly smoother mash. And then, yeah, we'll get that going. Actually, since I gotta cut those up, thankfully they won't take too long. Yeah. Portuguese where I am. Yeah. Portuguese bakeries are amazing. I lived in Connecticut for a little while, and there was a Portuguese bakery that we would hit up with some frequency. The bread was always amazing. In terms of how much potatoes this is about 2 pounds. So 900-ish grams, roughly. I'm also making kind of extra, so then that way if I want some more later, I've got some leftovers. And honestly, if there's a little bit of skins on there, I'm not going to sweat it. I am kind of curious because I have the video paused on here, but it's kind of showing up on this. Do you see what looks like lines scrolling through the overhead image? Western Mass, there's a lot of mill towns and they settle there. Okay, okay. No lines. Okay, cool. Yeah, because at least on mine, I'm thinking what it is because I put up a new light over here. I don't have the little lights that I did. I'd have like a big work light. Kelly, are you seeing lines? Boston's about 80 miles. Oh, that's okay. We've talked about the Enfield area before. That's right. Yeah, I want to say the Portuguese bakery was in Waterbury, Connecticut, if I remember correctly. There's also a Portuguese population there. Okay, you're seeing kind of the scrolling thing. All right, so that's my guess. It's the light frequency and the camera frame rate. Okay. Yeah, this mash is just gonna have a little bit of butter in it. That's really about it. And some pepper. Because you gotta have pepper. Okay. Alright. go get some water over this and a bit of salt and then put it on. Okay. No, unfortunately, it's not fan. It's an LED work light, and because my biggest complaint about this area is that there just wasn't enough light, and I happen to have this LED work light, and so I put it up and I hung it. And I'm like, hey, this is illuminating really nicely, and it's looking pretty good. And I pulled it up on the OBS software that's used for broadcasting. And what's interesting is, at least for me, it's only showing in this straight down camera. It's not showing in this camera at all. But it's only showing in that one coming straight down. But yeah. Yeah, but it's not really a shadow, it's just the frequency. It's like the frequency of the camera and the frequency of the light are syncing up in such a way that it's making it do that. Okay. Onions are coming along nicely. Okay. Actually got peas. Okay. We're gonna leave those out for a bit so they're come together quicker. Give this a quick wipe down so I don't have potato starch on everything. Okay. Now I'm thinking we should throw together that slaw. There. Okay. So I've got my pickled onions that I made, what was that, last week? Carrots. Cabbage was on sale for obvious reasons. But these cabbages, the green cabbages that I've been getting recently have just been, even for the size, they haven't been very heavy. They were incredibly light. They weren't very tightly packed. They're not very dense. This is a very dense cabbage. This cabbage, I want to say, weighs probably about 5 to 6 pounds to 2.5 kilos, something like that. It's a nice big hefty cabbage. Gonna use a part of that. I've got some Korean radish left over, so I figured I'd trim that up and shred it and put it in, because I thought that might be kind of tasty in there. Carrot, the pickled onions, and then we'll do that blue cheese dressing. And then lastly, we'll shred the beet, or part of the beet at least. All right. I'm gonna scrape that bottom, not let all that good fond burn. This is coming together really nicely. Bob's Red Mill gluten-free. Yep, that's it. The 1-to-1. Place of flour, not your recipe. Yep. Yeah, that's the product that I was talking about. Night Songs is that 1-to-1. Interestingly enough, Xanthan Gum was another thing that kind of came up for thickening. However, the problem with using Xanthan Gum is that if you're just looking to thicken up a soup or a sauce or something, it's fantastic for it. However, if you're actually trying to make a roux and get a little bit of color on that roux, Xanthan Gum is not something that I would use. You can use that 1-to-1, which will work quite well, but I think Cassava Flour is really going to be the winner on that. Okay. This is coming together very nicely. So I'm going to go get my big shredder for this. Because I kind of feel like shredding the ingredients is just going to work better for me. So let's... I don't necessarily need a ton of the radish. Yeah, that'll probably be good. There's that. Hi, dogs. The dogs instinctively know when I go into the drawer that has the cheese graters. They're just like, oh wait, I know that sound. Is he playing with cheese? Does that mean we get some? They're pretty funny like that. All right. Let's give that a shred. Move that out of the way. Yeah, I think that's about enough. There's going to be a lot of liquid in this that I'm going to want to drain before dressing. Alright. That's looking good. Save this for something else. Give the onions a stir. That's the thing about caramelizing onions is usually you can just kind of leave it be, but once it starts to get some color on it, you got to keep it moving. But it's worth it. Okay. Let's do a carrot. Hi, Jane. Okay. Into the bowl. All right. Carrot and radish shredded. Let's do some of this cabbage. That is a dense sucker. Look at that. So, let's see. Well, that's actually still got the core on that. Here it is. That's nice and sweet too. That's good. Oh, hey, Renfield. How's it going, man? Yep, that's right. That cassava should be perfect. All right. Shred some cabbage. Giant pieces. Okay. That's looking pretty good. I'm gonna save that stuff. Nice. That is looking excellent. Okay. How's it going, Renfield? How's your day going? Okay. I think we could put these away. Hi, dog. Okay. Okay. I just pulled out mayonnaise as well as rice vinegar, which are two of the main ingredients for the dressing for this slaw. But before I actually dress it, I'm probably going to take everything that is shredded here and squeeze out the excess moisture, just so then that way it doesn't dilute the dressing at all. Let's see. All right, that's heat. Turn it down. And set a timer. 5 minutes. Okay. Hey, Lumpy Pickle, welcome. I was recently watching a, No, you haven't missed the bangers and mash yet. We're working on it. I was recently watching a cooking video, and the question was asked of the person doing the cooking, like, why they never wore gloves. And their response was, well, I can just, wash my hands. And yeah, that's absolutely right. You can totally wash your hands all the time. However, my hands get super dry and crack and bleed if I'm constantly washing them. And that's why I glove up for most things. Just so then that way I'm not having to wash my hands constantly. I mean, I do wash them obviously, but this way I'm not having to wash them anywhere near as much. Yeah, well, it may be metal, but it hurts. Believe me, it's. I've had that happen to me the bulk of my life there, Lumpy Pickle. But yeah, they're definitely not ideal for preparing food. But the caramelized onions are for the onion gravy, and we're getting much closer to these being ready, but we're not there just yet. And so in the meantime, I'm working on a slaw, and now I'm about to peel and grate a beet that I roasted earlier today. And like, I know the paring knife is around here somewhere. So yeah, I roasted this at 350 for about an hour, and then I just turned the oven off and let it stand there for a bit. And I just wrapped it up in foil. The only other moisture was when I gave the beet a rinse initially. And then that way I get nice roasted beets and they're delicious, and I thought it'd be good in the slaw. I mean, it's going to turn the entire slaw pink, but it'll be delicious. So, what is kind of funny, there was a sketch on Portlandia where people kept calling into 911, and every call was, "Did you eat beets? Did you have beets?" Because everyone thought that, you know, they were internally bleeding. And it's funny because it's true. People they forget that they've eaten beets and what it does to your interior. They call 911. The blood in my food, it depends. Yeah, it depends on whose blood it is, and it depends on what it is that I'm making. So. I think I'm going to hold off on grating this, just so then that way when I go to squeeze out the moisture from the slaw here, that it is not it's not going to be entirely pink. Okay, these are looking excellent. Part of me had thought about deglazing the pan with a bit of Jameson. Hey, I Scenic Wolf, welcome. Lumpy Pickle, mayo or vinegar? The answer is yes. A little of both. Excuse me, Jane. Alright, those are looking ready. So I'm just going to drain these and then let them kind of air dry for a few minutes before we get to mashing them. Okay. Oh, should probably grab a trivet. Alright. I can put these over here. Alright. It's about 5 minutes on the clock there, and that'll be ready to go. Let's see. Both vinegar and mayo. Yeah, so it's the dressing that I make for this. It's a blue cheese dressing So it's a hunk of blue cheese, it's mayo, and it's vinegar that's mixed together. And it's usually just seasoned with salt and pepper. It's dead simple, but it is super delicious. Maybe a little bit of sugar to offset it a little bit, but usually no. Usually it's, like I said, it's those, you know, that blue cheese, the mayo, the vinegar, salt and pepper, and that's it. Mostly lurking. Oh, dude, I'm sorry to hear that, Scenic Wolf, but that's okay. If you want to hang out and lurk, go right ahead. Hello to the lurkers. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And if all you want to do is just, you know, kind of hang out, that's totally cool. Please do so. Should you ever have any questions, please feel free to shout them out in chat. If I miss it, I apologize. Currently, I'm running solo on this, and as soon as Mrs. Hueso gets home, she'll set up, and if I miss a question or something like that, she'll shout it at me, so then that way I actually answer it. All right. We are looking good. Alright, I think I'm going to let that go for just a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to squeeze this stuff out. And for that, I actually have, this is it's a tea towel that I think we got at IKEA that ran a stitch up at two sides to form a pouch. Oh, is G Money streaming? Yes, G Money streaming, Lumpy Pickle? I didn't think he was this week. Oh, he is. Is he playing or is he working out? Hey, baby. Mrs. Hueso be home. Alright, so I'm just gonna put all of this in here to squeeze out. And then, oh, I know what you've been listening to.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize he was streaming today.
Yeah, I got the... Who's over here? I see Lumpy Pickle.
Lumpy's here, AJ's here, I
your
seen it.
mom.
Yep, I seen it. Wolf is here. Although they're lurking a little bit. Night Songs is here. Night Songs is one of the folks that was asking about the gluten-free stuff.
Yes.
And so I excitedly told them about the cassava flour. So
Which I don't know any of.
I just have it
You're
in
just
here and
making
I'm going to
sounds.
squeeze it out. Yeah, I'm making sounds, basically.
How is everyone? G-Money, yeah, I bet. Lumpy Pickle, I feel like you're, here all the time, which is great. Just like we're best friends, only I don't know what you look like, and I've never talked to you. Although I keep telling DK I need to get your number. I just feel like that's necessary. Yeah, so. Yay! You guys are great. I don't know what DK's making.
Bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash! I see caramelized onion.
For the you were the one who requested this.
Yeah, okay.
I said, I was thinking steak and Guinness pie. You're like, no, I want bangers and mash.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Wait. Just because we talked about it doesn't mean that's what's actually happened. You're very good at changing your mind at the last minute.
No, you said you wanted bangers and mash, and so I said, okay, fine, I'm doing bangers and mash.
Okay. You could do steak and Guinness pie, too.
Oh, now she says so.
Just not today.
Alright, so I done squoze everything out. And there's the consistency of the slaw that we're looking at. Okay. That I'm going to have to give a thorough rinsing to a little bit later. But since we've got this going, let's add those pickled onions. And these are, like I said, these are just the pickled onions that I made I think it was last Tuesday. That'll be good in this. Because they're a little vinegary, they're a little sugary. It'll be a nice addition to this. Okay. Then...
I've also never had bangers and mash.
Oh.
I've had steak and Guinness pie.
Oh. Okay. Alright, time to grate some beet. I'm kind of thinking the whole thing needs to go in there. Okay. This is looking awesome. Oh, are those the ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really see a
Exciting.
heck of a lot. Yeah, not terribly exciting.
I'm gonna recycle them if that's okay.
Yep, that's totally fine.
What is this?
Beet. It's coleslaw.
Oh.
It's going to be a blue cheese coleslaw that I'm putting a roasted beet into.
Okay.
You're like, all right.
See? Even the blue cheese coleslaw is different every time.
That's true. Well, I just thought that the beet would be a nice touch.
All right.
Yeah, beet slaw. Yeah, I love beets.
David's not very British.
No.
David's like a lot of German.
Very German.
I have some British. I'm 30% Scottish and I don't know, 7% British.
So this is a hunk of, it's a Gorgonzola Dolce, which is a pretty soft blue cheese. And it's also not incredibly strong, but it is creamy and it's delicious and I like it. I just happen to have it in here because when I pulled it out, it needed a little bit of cleaning up. It just had some, as funny as it sounds, it had some surface mold, but I just, knocked off the surfaces and called it good. And so this is probably about an ounce or two, maybe. Your mileage may vary depending on how much blue cheese you like or how much you actually like blue cheese. Mrs. Hueso's not the biggest of blue cheese fans, but she likes it in this particular capacity.
Very much
So,
I love blue cheese crumbles and a ranch salad.
okay. Like in a ranch, adding blue cheese crumbles to a ranch dressing. So, unfortunately, I've never really measured this out. In this case, I don't know, was that like a half a cup of mayo? Something like that. Not necessarily all of this is gonna go into the slaw. But just kind of based off of the amount of the cheese that I have there, this seems like about the right amount. And thankfully this stuff will keep for a little bit. So if I don't use it all right now, it's okay. Okay, there's still gas in there. I was a little concerned. I'm like, wait. Couple of turns of black pepper. So, okay. If you can see how thick that consistency is right now, we're going to thin it with that rice vinegar a little bit. But I don't want it to be super runny. I still want it to have a little bit of thickness to it. And you'll kind of see what I mean. So I add like a little bit of it at a time. And then mix. So yeah, I mean, we're still pretty dang creamy. but it's not super runny. And that's really kind of what I want. Taste-wise, you can use a little bit more vinegar, I think. Because I want kind of that mayo creaminess and that flavor, but I also want a little bit of a acidity from that vinegar. And definitely the blue cheese flavor comes through, so I think, yeah, that's pretty spot on. And it's okay if this is a little bit stronger, just because going into the salad, it's going to tone it down quite a bit. Yeah, you can totally put it on top of steak. Oh, funny story, I was on a flight to France with a stopover in Copenhagen. I was in the very last aisle to get meal service. Every single person on the plane asked, would you prefer to speak in Danish or English? But apparently I looked so Danish that she just started talking to me in Danish. Had to pipe it with so hi. Unfortunately, I don't speak Danish. Oh, that's funny that 23andMe says you're like 0.5%. So Mrs. Weso's actually been to Denmark. She had a very good friend from there. And when she went over, I think it was her friend's like uncle or something like that was the chef for the royal family at one point, and so he just cooked like crazy for them. And not gonna lie, I was kind of jealous. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So given this amount of slaw that we got here, I'm kind of thinking we're probably gonna need all of this. Oh, nice. This is looking pretty tasty. I'd love to go visit Denmark for real. I just hung out at the airport for an hour between flights. Yeah. Yeah, I think Denmark would be pretty cool to visit. Mrs. Weso talks about the Danish bacon, which I've never been able to find here, but for whatever reason, she absolutely adored it. And I haven't really been able to find out what exactly sets it apart. So that is looking pretty tasty. Let's give that a taste. That's really good. Okay. That is done. That I can set aside. This I will rent. Okay. Next up, let's make that mash. All of my cutting and everything is done. So this stuff I can get out of the way. Set that aside. Excellent. Alright, so for this, like I said earlier, I'm literally just going to add a little bit of butter to it. And that is it. So let's see. I'm using Kerrygold because, well, it's St. Patrick's Day, and so you kind of need Irish butter. Let's see, where's that? There it is. So I'm thinking for something, for about this amount, probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter. And then that will probably be just fine. Okay. Our mash is looking good. Thankfully, I got a bowl of water in the sink. Let's see. Yeah. A bit of pepper, and then this is good for our purposes right now. Okay. Off to the side. I think I've had Danish bacon before, if I remember correctly. It was mostly different smokiness, different wood. Almost a little beefy. I'm wondering if they used like a pine or a spruce or something like that to smoke it. Have I ever used a food mill or a ricer to make mashed potatoes? Yes, I have. I've used both. Ricers, depending on their design, if they're the kind that have the holes that go up to the side, I don't recommend it, just because when you go to run potatoes through them, they tend to go outwards, as opposed to straight down, which is kind of the variety that I like. So yeah, and food mill, I've used them. I have one, but I think for most of the time when I make mashed potatoes, just the hand masher is what works best for me. In my opinion, it's easy to overbeat them and make them slimy if you use a food processor. Yeah, if you're making mashed potatoes in a food processor, it's way too quick. And it's, I mean, your window of opportunity for being just right is super narrow, so I don't really recommend it. Just hand mash it, call it good, and you're golden. Unfortunately, I was using a pepper shaker one time and the top came, oh, yeah. I think everyone's had those, had that where the salt or the pepper shaker, the top was loose on or something like that and just went, yep. I think everyone's had that happen before. It's not a pleasant experience, but it is what it is. Okay. We got the peas and we got the gravy that we need to make. Kind of thinking let's make the gravy first, because the peas will actually come together pretty quickly. Although, you know what? Let's just do the peas first. This we can hang off at the very end, but we can knock these peas out pretty quickly.
I hate to do this on the telly in front of everyone.
What's that?
But the sisters just called talking about who they're bringing tonight.
I never got to talk.
That's what I said. Like, you guys can't do this. Anyways. But if we're talking 3 more people.
I didn't even think about them.
I know. That's what I said.
All right.
Ladies.
Yeah. All right. Chunk of butter because, well, butter is delicious. All right, I see Nick. Have a good lurk. So, peas for me, especially from frozen, I just do them straight into a pan and saute them up and call it good. Hit them with a bit of salt and pepper and easy peasy lemon squeezy. So there's the salt, there's the pepper. Still got some frost in there, but that's okay. These come together pretty quick. Okay. This is going to make a lovely dinner. I got my spare canister just in case. All right. There we go. Into the pan. All we're saying is give peas a chance. Indeed. Need to try mushy peas at some point. Mushy peas, to be honest, it's just peas that they've mashed up a bit. That's literally it. I mean, They weren't exactly the most creative of folk when they decided to name it. That will be sufficient, I think. Peas and gravy, yep. Mushy peas are just smashed peas, I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's really what they are. But I think the reason why they came about, and this is just, the ones in the can are mushy, frozen are the best. Yeah, I agree. The canned peas are definitely on the mushy side. That's just because of the steam processing that they have to do on them. I suspect, and bear in mind this is just pure conjecture. This is not based on anything I've read, any facts or anything like that. This is just pure speculation on my part. I suspect that, hey, there we are. The reason why mushy peas became a thing is because what was happening is when they had the peas, sometimes the peas were a little overripe, maybe a little beyond. And so to kind of cover for it, they decided to kind of mash all the things and just call it mushy peas. That would be my guess, because that seems like the kind of thing that an enterprising greengrocer or fish and chip shop or something like that would do. Is like they got these peas and they're kind of starting to turn. They haven't gone completely rotten, but they're a little bit softer. And so they decided to kind of mash them up, and it just became a thing. So, there we go. All I did there was press the pan against the wall because this silicone handle kind of slips. And so there's a little bit of tile across the back. So all I did was kind of press it against the tile to press the handle back on better. But disgusting food that is mildly off. Hey, jellied eels. You know what? I have not had jelly eels, but I'm not opposed to giving them a try. They could be disgusting. I am fully aware that they could just be super nasty, but at the same time, I kind of feel like, I don't know, they could be kind of good. I don't know. I'd give them a shot. I mean, I like eel at sushi, be it freshwater or saltwater eel. This is just eel in a slightly different form. So who knows? Okay. These are looking very nice. I'm thinking I need a fork to give these suckers a try. Yeah. Okay. Peas be done. I was thinking, this probably doesn't need the trivet anymore. Okay. Time for some final assembly. Bust out that AP flour. So since I put a couple of tablespoons of butter in there initially, I'll do about a 1-to-1 with the flour. And then we'll cook that up a little bit. Because if you just were to add liquid to this right now, the problem is you get this raw flour flavor that's really kind of nasty. Take a tip from the, I want to say it's the Cajuns. I apologize in advance if it's the Creoles and not the Cajuns, but I think it's the Cajuns. That took the idea of a roux and just went to town with it and took it into really, really dark territories. really toasting and caramelizing that roux for making things like gumbo, and just the crazy complexity that comes with doing that. Okay. This is looking pretty good. I think we are just about at the point where we can add that bouillon. Yeah. Okay. I'm just adding a little bit at a time initially, so then that way I can scrape down all those solid bits of flavor. And you can already see the flour thickening everything. Since we've just added that, let's throw in that dried thyme now, so it's had the maximum amount of time possible. Just a little bit. Doesn't need very much. If you add too much thyme, it just starts to get medicinal. You just had lunch, AJ. Okay. Scrape down all the flavor bits. Wow, I just added that dried thyme and I can already smell it. But yeah, just a little bit. You don't need very much. If you add too much thyme, like I said, it takes on a really medicinal kind of flavor, and it's just, it's no bueno. Oh, it's about time to refill the pepper mill. A little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Yeah, so I mean, this is about 500 mils of liquid, probably about a tablespoon or two of butter that went into the caramelizing of the onions, and a roughly equal amount of all-purpose flour, that 500 mils of water with an appropriate amount of Knorr beef bouillon. Although if you have beef stock, absolutely have at it. And a little bit of Worcestershire sauce and pepper. And that is really it. So now we're just going to kind of cook this a little bit to let it thicken up. Just a hair, because I don't want this to be... I don't want to be able to stand a spoon up in this. I still want this to have like a slightly thicker than like a meat juice consistency, if that makes sense. More of an au jus sort of consistency, or a little bit thicker. Tasting for salt. And it feels like it can use some salt, but if this reduces, I don't want to add any salt just yet, just because then it's just going to taste that much saltier, and I don't want to taste salt. What herb is in the sausages? Fennel? I don't like biting into that. So for traditional bangers and mash, it's whatever's in an English sausage. Fennel is very commonly used in like Italian sausages, as well as German sausages will use it too. But in British ones, I don't know if there's necessarily fennel, but there's definitely like sage, usually thyme, something to that effect. Alright, this is thickening and reducing. Let's try that again. Okay, yeah. Just a faint amount of salt. Not very much. Alright, let's add them sausages back in. And whatever yummy goodness was in there. And then I'm going to just plate up in this. So we got that. Let's dish up some peas. Okay. These are just about good to go. Thinking those are the same kind of. These are actually two different types of sausage. So I'm going to do one of each for myself and for Mrs. Wayso. But these should be about ready to go. So let's pull those out. Then we need get a spoon for that gravy. Excellent. And then lastly, come on, there we go. Oh, that will work, and I got a fork. Perfect. Dish up some of the slaw. Me and my giant tweezers. Nice. And there we have it. Come on. Thinking. We can turn that one off. We can turn that one off. Bangers and mash with peas and onion gravy. And blue cheese coleslaw. With beets. Yum, yummy. That's Venus. So the sausages, Night Song, look for like a butcher shop that makes their own sausages. That's going to be your best bet. I want to say one of them was like an Oktoberfest style sausage, and the other one was a cheddar and onion. They just look good. I've got a whole bunch of other sausages just because. Yeah, you know what? It smells amazing too, Lumpy Pickle. We'll find out how they taste here real quick. The ones sold here are called hot or sweet, and they're short and stubby. Huh. Well, okay, so I know that there's Red Hots, which I know I saw in Connecticut quite a bit. But Connecticut also has like some of the most amazing hot dog places in the country. So yeah, they're probably Italian. Yeah, find yourself a butcher shop that is somebody other than Italians, be it, you know, German, British, whatever. I would imagine that in that Enfield area, well, you're not all that far from Hartford either. Hartford, there's a pretty decent, at least last time I was there, something to consider. Possibly Portuguese. Portuguese might be really good. So, anyways, I'm gonna cut into one of these because it looks and smells awesome. Boop. We'll hit it with some of the mash, some of the gravy, and then you gotta hit it with some of the peas.
Spell it with your peas.
You can ditch your own up, you know.
I could.
It's just better to eat off of mine.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
that's good.
30 minutes from Hartford. Yeah. That's really good. Let's cut into this other sausage.
I wasn't sure about beets being in this, but it's pretty tasty.
I thought so.
Notice I'm not contaminating it with my spoon.
Both of them sausages are excellent. Yeah, cooking along. That will be something that we'll do at some point. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll post recipes, I'll post ingredients, and it'll be something that like I would plan for like say a month out and get it up there, just so then that way everyone's got plenty of time who wants to play along to get in on it, and then yeah, then everybody can just kind of play along.
And it'll be something easy.
Yeah, it'll be initially it'll be something easy. Oh yeah, this is the one with the cheese.
So there's two kinds?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
You okay?
Nope. That's why I don't do the cooking.
You know what, Lumpy Pickle? I've actually had that offer before. Where I cook and then they eat. Yeah, I can imagine that it would be a little bit difficult for you, for AJ, but to be honest, I betcha if I planned it right, we could probably do something that would be totally like stealth, and you could do. That I think would be kind of fun. Like we'll utilize like a coffee maker. Trying to think what else would be in an IT office.
Microwave?
A microwave. Okay, yeah, a microwave, maybe a toaster or a toaster oven. Okay, so AJ, here's what I'm gonna need from you. Somehow get me a list of whatever like kitchen equipment, food equipment, whatever's in your office. Really none of that. Dude, AJ, you're killing me. Come on, man. Although, to be fair, you're also like 5 minutes walking distance from home. So, you could just walk home. That's really good. And I can completely see why this would be comfort food. A fridge and a microwave. Not even electric tea. What, do you have a coffee maker or a tea kettle or something? Anything to make boiled water? Because if you did, then in theory you might be able to steam something. Okay, there's a kettle. Kettle and a microwave. Okay. I'm gonna ponder that. Mm. It's thinking. There we go. Slaw is very tasty. What's interesting is the little bits of... Uh-oh. Jane. I don't know if you saw Vera, she just like stopped. Jane, hey. Good boy. You dogs are hilarious. I got you. You got your treat. You'll just watch. The little bits of Mexican oregano that stuck to the pickled onions are actually kind of a pleasant surprise. So Vera, it's a slick floor, they slide anyways. But for whatever reason, she used to come down to this end of the kitchen and beyond pretty frequently, but for some, I don't know what happened, but now she like kind of stops right in there. She just stops. I don't know why. Jane's superpower is he's always hungry. He always wants some. I mean, I suppose I could sit here and mukbang the whole thing. But in truth, I'd like to sit down and eat. So,
Mukbang.
mukbang. Let's see.
Hey, over here. I'm sorry, I didn't log in. Hey, no dying. I do know CPR. And the Heimlich maneuver.
Oh, excuse me. Tickled my throat.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay. Well, since Mr. G Money is still on, let's go say hi to him. Let's see. There we go.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much for hanging out today, guys. We will... Excuse me. I will see you all Saturday. Actually, I should probably put the raid message up in chat. Yeah. So, it's been fun. I'll see you all Saturday. Saturday, I'm thinking... at the moment, I think we're going to aim for a gluten-free katsu curry. I think I can make this happen. So that's the plan, at least as of the moment. If not, we'll see. But yeah, so let's... What happened to... That disappeared. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. We will see you Saturday. Take care. And yeah, happy eating.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for